Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos, and I've been a life coach, relationship coach, and breakup coach for 5 years. Today I'm going to be answering the web's most searched for ex-back questions. I've got 3 of them I'm going to be answering today, so let's get straight into this. And the first question is, do exes come back? So when we consider, do exes come back, we have to understand what has actually happened and what needs to take place for them to want to come back. When you and your now former partner were in a loving relationship, you both would have felt what I like to refer to as a high level of romantic emotional attraction for one another. Now, for various potential reasons, unfortunately for you listening if you're a dumpee, your now ex-dumper lost romantic emotional attraction. And when it hit the necessary low point, this is when they would have likely actioned for breakup. So at this point in time, they're feeling a very low level of romantic emotional attraction for you. And therefore what we can see is that for them to quote unquote come back, they need to have grown romantic emotional attraction that they feel for you. Now, how do they grow romantic emotional attraction if they've dumped you and they're no longer with you? Now, this is where a dumpee has more influence than you might think. You might be listening as a dumpee and thinking, well, I don't have any influence. My now ex-dumper ended the relationship. They don't want to speak. They don't want to see me. So how on earth can they grow attraction for me from that point? Well, you as a dumpee have a lot more influence than you might think. Firstly, I suggest that you implement my version of the no contact rule. Now, if you're not familiar with no contact, this is something that lots of people suggest you implement if you've been dumped and want to try to get your ex back. However, there are many different versions of a no contact rule that you can find online, and I believe that my version will give you the best possible chance of success. So I suggest that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, ring the bell for notifications, and implement my version of the no contact rule by checking out my playlist entitled The No Contact Rule. There you can fully immerse yourself in my version of a rule and understand why I believe it will give you that best possible chance of success. Once you've implemented my version of a no contact rule, you then need to be implementing the hints, tips and advice that I give in my other podcasts. I've got hundreds and hundreds of podcasts speaking from all different angles and perspectives here on my YouTube channel. So please subscribe and ring that bell for notifications. However, you have to understand that I am speaking in a generalized sense. So some of the things that I'm saying are unlikely to fit into your unique specific situation. Now, if you're feeling that you don't understand exactly what to do with your intricate scenario, this is where you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. But when we answer that question broadly, do exes come back? Yes, they can come back. Not all of them will, but some of them will. And some of them will come back due to the behaviour and lifestyle of the dumpee post-breakup. It's absolutely vital that you understand that to grow romantic emotional attraction in somebody's mind is down to how you're acting most of the time. You know, when you're thinking about if you were to find somebody attractive, it would be dependent on how they are. You know, whether you're thinking of your ex or whether you're thinking of somebody new, why do you find them attractive? You find them attractive because of how they physically look, how they behave, how they act, their aura, their mentality, their spiritualism. You know, it's about mind, body, and spirit. This is why you might find somebody attractive. Similarly, your ex has got to feel the same way about you. So when we ask, do exes come back? Yes, they can, but it will be dependent on you, the dumpee. And this is why it's vital that you focus on you rather than your ex-dumper. Because your ex-dumper is now doing their own thing. They're living their own life. I refer to it as them going through the single honeymoon period, where they'll be doing their thing for months, maybe even up to a year. You know, I would say, generally speaking, somebody will go through the single honeymoon period between 6 months and a year. That means they're doing their own thing. They're spending time with their friends. They're going to parties potentially. They're living their life in a way that they felt they couldn't do within the relationship. Now, why that is, I can't answer that without speaking with you. You know, I don't know specifically what has gone wrong. But what I can say is that your ex-dumper is trying to do things a bit differently right now. And although this might sound scary, They will get bored eventually. The life they're living right now will soon become old. And when they get to that stage, they will likely reflect. And they'll reflect on how they're feeling right now due to their past, due to their present, thinking of their future. Now, if they've regrown romantic emotional attraction for you at this stage, that is when a dumper will reach out to a dumpee. So will they come back? I can't say for certain your situation, but exes do come back. I've known exes come back after many years apart, many years of not even speaking. So even if you feel, okay, I've not spoke to my ex for a few months, I've got no mutual friends, we're not connected on social media, that means it's over forever. Now, I'm not going to give you false hope. I'm not telling you that you will get your ex back. I'm just saying that you can get your ex back. You shouldn't be focusing on them. You need to be focusing on you. You can't clock watch. You can't wait around. It's not guaranteed to happen, but it can happen. Because yes, exes do come back. So now let's get into the second question when I'm answering the web's most searched for ex-back questions. And question number 2 is, do exes ever get back together? Now, there is a difference here between question number 1 and question number 2. The first question was, do exes come back? That is about them regrown romantic emotional attraction and reaching out to you. But question number 2 is, do exes ever get back together? Now, that is different because this means that they've reached out to you, and how do things proceed from that point? Now, this will depend on how you navigate the communication stage. Lots of people believe that the hardest time of trying to get their ex back is when they don't hear from them. When they're implementing my version of the no contact rule, they believe that is the toughest time. But I would actually suggest that the communication stage and beyond that are actually more crucial and more difficult. Because if and when you hear from your ex, this is a scenario where you're going to have to play it absolutely perfectly. Because if you don't, they're going to vanish again. And if they vanish again, there's no guarantee they will ever come back. So I don't want to tell you that you've definitely only got one chance at this, but the reality is, if your ex reaches out to you and you, for instance, behave in a negative way, they might not come back again. So let's just go through an example. Let's say your ex-dumper reaches out to you and they say something along the lines of, "Hi, how are you?" Something very basic, something that you might even wonder if you should even respond to. You might think, well, that's breadcrumbs. They're not really putting in much effort. I would suggest as a dumpee, if you hear from your ex, whatever they say, respond to them and grow that conversation. Now, let's just say, for instance, you respond when they say, "Hi, how are you?" And you put something like, "Well, where have you been these last few months?" Or, "Here you are, come crawling back." Or something where you're really getting out your frustration. That is not going to help you. Even if you feel like saying something negative, frustrated or bitter, you need to think about it. Is this going to help your cause? It's likely not, okay? You need to be behaving in a happy, carefree and fun way. Is this fair? Probably not. Is this likely to work? Well, it's more likely to work when you've been negative. If your ex-dumper reaches out to you and you instantly say to them, "Oh, what have you been doing these last few months then? Have you got a new girlfriend or a new boyfriend? Have you just broken up with somebody new and now you're coming crawling back?" If you say things like that, you're not going to help your cause. You need to be behaving in that happy, carefree and fun way, because if you don't, they're going to disappear before you even get to have 2 or 3 messages exchanged. You need your ex to be engaging with you. You need that opportunity to grow the communication, to get to the meeting stage, because if you meet, that is another step on your journey to reconnection. Again, can I guarantee you'll get your ex back if you get to a meeting stage? No, I can't. But you're certainly a lot closer than when you were going no contact, and you're even closer than when you were exchanging messages. Meeting is 1 step away from reconnection. And at that point, you need to behave in the most attractive way you can. You need to feel the vibe. You need to make sure it's working for you, not just for them. And then you can see if this is where you get back together, because this is another important thing for me to say for question number 2, and that is, it is dependent on your feelings, not just theirs. Do exes ever get back together? It's not just dependent on the dumper. If the dumpee, if yourself is not feeling this, if you don't believe that this is working for you, if you don't enjoy the meeting, then you shouldn't be getting back together for the sake of it. Yes, you probably wanted your ex back to this point, but if you're no longer feeling it when you meet up, You shouldn't be doing this just because you think, well, maybe we should. No. Do exes ever get back together? Yes, they do. Every single week exes are getting back together. But they need to be making sure they're doing it for the right reasons. Are you doing it because you're feeling a high level of romantic emotional attraction? And are they doing it because they're feeling a high level of romantic emotional attraction? You both need to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, because if you don't, it will likely fall apart soon after your reconnection. So now let's get into the third and final question today about Breakup Coach answers the web's most searched for ex-bang questions. And question number 3 is, do exes miss you? An ex or dumper will think about you. They will miss you if you've behaved in a way which creates that mystery and missing possibility. What I mean by this is, if your ex or dumper gets to the point where they believe you have truly gone on your own path, you've truly gone on your own journey, you're truly not coming back to them, even though they dumped you, they need to subconsciously feel that you have gone for good. If that takes place, then yes, an ex or dumper can miss you. Now, if we're asking, will your ex or dumper miss you 2 weeks after they dumped you? Probably not. They would think about you, but they're probably not going to be missing you. They've ended the relationship for a reason. Like I said, they lost romantic emotional attraction for you. I can't tell you exactly why that was, unless you speak one-on-one via my audio coaching service. I don't know exactly what's happened. But what I can say is they've lost attraction. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean physical attraction, although it could do. When I say romantic emotional attraction, I mean everything combined. Physical attraction, mental attraction, spiritual attraction, everything combined together. If they're not feeling it anymore, they've lost romantic emotional attraction. Somebody only ends a relationship if that is at the necessary low point. They're not going to end it otherwise. If they're feeling really attracted to you on an emotional sense, they're not going to dump you. Okay, we need to look at this and understand why they've ended a relationship, and then we can see why they want to get back together. And they will only get back together if they miss you. So when people ask me, does my ex miss me? Well, it depends on what's happened post-breakup. It depends on how your relationship was initially. We need to look at the 3 elements: the relationship, the breakup, and the aftermath. I would suggest, ironically, the breakup itself is probably the least important element of trying to get back together. So let me explain why. The relationship dictates the memories. How long was the relationship? How intense was the relationship? What memories were built? This will connect to what triggers can make your ex think of that relationship. The breakup is the middle part of the sandwich. Now, this would ideally be dealt with in the best possible way, but we're not robots. We're human beings. Emotions are flying high, so the breakup is likely to be messy. You are likely to have said things that maybe now you regret, and perhaps your ex does as well. Very few people go through a perfect breakup, so if you believe that your breakup was quite messy, quite emotional, a lot of things were said, tears were shed, obviously, very understandable things, don't be alarmed. That's very, very natural and normal. What I would say is more important than the breakup is the relationship, as I said a moment ago, and also the aftermath. The way you behave post-breakup is going to drastically affect your chances of one day getting your ex back. So if your ex is to miss you, it's not so much about how emotional you were during the breakup itself, it's more about how you've behaved post-breakup in the weeks and months since. It's also based on the relationship you had when you were together. How long was that relationship? How intense was it? What memories were made? What triggers can bring on those memories? This is what we need to look at when we ask the question. Does an ex miss you? Do exes miss you? It depends on those elements. Yes, the breakup itself, if it's dealt with in the best possible way, then that's fantastic. But let's be honest, it's not likely. So don't be worried if your breakup was quite messy. It's very, very understandable. So if you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.